So in this video, I wanted to talk about a very cool new pen, and that's this, the Rotring 600 3-in-1. If you've been following this channel, you'll know about the Rotring series, the Rotring 600 series. It's a really great set of classic pens and pencils, and you'll know the Rotring 600 ballpoint was re-released a few years ago. In March 2020, the Rotring 600 came out in red, blue, and green. It's the first time they were in colors besides black and silver. Rotring also released this, the Rotring 600 3-in-1. In the past, Rotring 600 never had a 3-in-1 or any sort of multi-pen or pencil, but the Rotring Newton line did have a pen called the Trio, which is very expensive now and very prized by collectors. The 300 3-in-1 is the new release. It just came out. You could buy it now from Japan for about $50, maybe a little bit less. But, currency has been fluctuating a lot. And this is it. Just really quickly, you'll see it has a hexagonal barrel design from the 600 is known for. Black and silver colors, does not come in the blue, red, and green like the new 600s. And it has that knurled grip, which the 600 is known for. The previous model, the Rotring Newton 3-in-1, or the Trio, it's really called, did not have a knurled grip. It had a flat grip, which is the main way you would tell a Newton from a 600. So let's just really quickly look at the box and we'll get into the details of the pen. So here it is, kind of a standard Rotring box these days. It's called the Rotring 600 3-in-1. So it is obviously officially a 600, not a Newton, and it's officially called the 3-in-1, not the Trio. This is a completely new pen, not a remake of the older models. Basically the 600 ballpoint and mechanical pencil, those are remakes of the original with some slight changes. This is a pen that was never before in the 600 series. So red box, not too much there. It's all cardboard. We have our Rotring instructions. You'll notice they are primarily in Japanese. This is a Japanese market pen for now. I don't think it'll be sold in the US anytime soon, but it's easy enough to get. And some basic instructions here, as well as a couple spoilers that show us about the pen. You'll notice that there is a 4-in-1, and I guess the 4-in-1 is the main one. Oh yeah, and the 3-in-1, there you go. Those are existing multi-pens in the series, and now Rotring is adding this one called the Rotring 300. Sorry, the Rotring 600 3-in-1. The original Rotring, the Quattro and the Trio, they're usually known as, they're still going to be sold. They're just not part of the 600 line. And then here's the little clip marker. We see the price tag, so 5,000 JPY, again about $50, and then just some product information in case you need that. So here is the 600. So what are the major features of this? We have the knurling, which is, again, iconic to the Rotring 600. The matte black finish, or silver, just like all 600s. Hexagonal body, nice heft, it's because it's fully brass construction. Folded steel clip, nice clip, really good looking, really functional, and it does come off. It's a banded clip. So basically you could, or a sprung clip, you could just pull this off if you want. It's not made of the pen. It's not made into the pen. And then we have more knurling, and then this button. This is actually a fake button. You cannot push it in. And now we're gonna get into some of the changes between this and the original Rotring Newton Trio. Number one change is that the Trio did not have the knurled grip. The Trio was smooth. Unfortunately, I don't have any of my Rotring Newton pens with me right now. Otherwise, I would do some comparisons. I don't even have my 600s with me. I just happened to get this delivered recently. So this one does have the knurled grip. It's not smooth. The grip section is definitely, these are two different parts. And with the old, and like I guess with all the standard Rotring 600s, you can unscrew the knurling from the body. With this one, the two pieces can unscrew, but they are somehow bonded together. It is really, really hard to unscrew this. I think there's some sort of Loctite in there. And I did unscrew it as a test, but you don't want to do that. It's, again, there's some sort of Loctite or something, and they're holding it shut. So don't attempt to unscrew this. If you want to get at the refills, you're actually going to pull up top, but we'll get to that in a second. So this button does not work if you're in without the tip extended or if you are in pen mode. To extend this pen, instead of pushing the button like on the original, you actually turn it. So you have pencil, black, red, pencil. So it is a twist style pen, sort of like the Rotring 800, as opposed to being a true push button like the original Rotring Trio. What Rotring did with the original pens was that there would be a little indicator, like say red right here, and when you held red up, you could push this button and the red would get pushed down. If you turned it, there'd be a little blue indicator here, and basically gravity assisted, it would push the blue down, and when you push the button, blue would go out. That sort of finicky, complex mechanism is gone, and now you just have the twist. So the nice thing about that is you actually have a use for this knurling up here. And then the button does work in case you have the pencil active. Then you could push the lead and extend the lead. But if this is in an inactive state like here and you push it down to get the pen out, nothing's going to happen. If it's in a pen state, you push it down, nothing will happen except the pen will bounce around. If you pull this piece, you'll see the whole internal piece comes out. So here we have a metal sleeve. I don't think it's brass. I think it's probably steel. A steel holder, and now we have the multi-pen or the sort of the refill components. So you have red, black, and pencil. And then you push it in, and now it kind of locks in place. It's a press fit, so it's a little bit hard to pull out, but it does come out. And it's basically, you could see right here, you probably just make out that, yeah, right there, that little indentation. That's because there's some sort of spring or something in here holding it in. I'm not really sure that we can make it out. There's probably right where you see that banding in there, there's probably just a rubber grommet or probably an O-ring, something like that, that's just kind of catching on here and holding it in. And you see the twist mechanism is very simple. It's just one piece twists and the other piece, I guess this piece stays stationary, this piece twists, and the different things extend. These are standard style D1 refills, Rotring D1 refills. They're fine, like totally adequate. They fit into a brass sleeve here. Just this steel piece goes into the brass sleeve. The problem with that is a Japanese style D1 refill will be too skinny to fit in these a lot of the time. D1, while it is an industry standard, some of them are like 2.0 millimeters, some are like 2.1 or 2.2 millimeters, and they're not perfectly interchangeable. So while you could probably fit a Schmidt or obviously a Rotring D1 refill in here, you may not be able to get, say, a Jetstream D1, which is a little bit disappointing because probably the first thing I would do would be upgrade the refills, even though the Rotring ones are just adequate. This just kind of mushes back in here and the pencils back together. So it's a really simple setup. Obviously, probably the question that's coming to everyone's mind is, where is my blue color? There's no blue ink here. It is red, black, and pencil. So it's really confusing because if you're into or used to Japanese pens, you would expect to see a 3+1, which would mean 3 color pens plus 1 pencil. This is a 3-in-1. So basically there's 3 writing utensils in this one. So that's, again, the red, the black, and the pencil, not red, black, blue, and pencil. A little bit disappointing because 3+1 is pretty standard, or some Japanese companies have a 2+1, but to call it a 3-in-1 kind of feels like, hey, I'm like missing out on one of my colors. And there's I believe no eraser. I've been playing with this thing for a while. It's got to be an eraser. And I just thought in my head, like there has to be an eraser, but I'm pretty sure there's no eraser at least that I've been able to figure out. If you wanted to refill the lead, then you can go ahead and you give this one a tug, and you can see the lead came out. So basically you pull off the pencil piece, you get your lead, you slide it back in here, and it is not an ideal mechanism. It's just like I find it to be rather finicky, but it does the job well enough. And I'm just like constantly live in fear of that little pencil piece breaking. And if you pull this hard, nothing comes out. You'll just pull the whole sleeve out. So no eraser that I could figure out. So I wanted to take a moment to do some writing with this 600. There's not a whole lot that's going to be revealing here, because while this is a new pen, it uses Rotring's standard D1 refills. So that's something you could buy in a lot of Rotrings now. So these are very standard ballpoint refills that Rotring has made forever. And what that means is, while this is a new pen, the writing experience is no different than if you were to buy any other Rotring pen that used their D1 refills, or you were to go ahead and just buy their D1 refills on your own, which you can buy them separately. So it's a 0.5 millimeter pencil. Black. And then obviously the red. You could swap out these refills for green or blue, whatever colors you want. Rotring sells them, or other companies do sell D1s. You'll probably want to buy a European one, like a Schmidt, but they are available. The ink that comes in these it's completely adequate. I would say it's fine. It's an okay D1. It's not great. In line with Rotring's giant refills. They're kind of what they call their standard ballpoint refill. They're fine writers, but the reason you're buying this pen is not for Rotring's ballpoint ink, which is completely adequate, but in no way extraordinary. You're buying the pen for the design and the really nicely made body. The refills are just, I would say, adequate. Oh, just to rewind, here are those instructions. You could see, here's how the pencil works, here's how the pen works, here's how you twist it, here's the removal, and no mention of an eraser. So I'm pretty sure there's no eraser there. These ones clearly mention the eraser. I just keep thinking I'm crazy because I'm like, where is the eraser? But from what I could tell, it doesn't have one. Okay, and to really wrap things up, this is the Rotring 600 3-in-1, not the Rotring 600 Trio remake that we all wanted, but pretty close. It's really nicely made. It has the same product quality as the Rotring 600 2018, 2019 models, like the re-released 600. It doesn't have some color indicators. It doesn't have some of the nicer points of the originals, but it is quite cool. And the Rotring Trio, the Newton, I guess, Trio is so expensive and they're actually not even they don't work that great. If you check back on my Newton Trio video, you'll see that they're fine, but they're not made that well and they haven't held up that well. So definitely don't spend $200+ on one of those. For one of these, for about $50, you're really scratching that itch of the Rotring 600 and getting a really nice, well-made pen. Like I said, there are some parts where it falls short. Like I'd like to see it as a true 3+1. I think this logo looks not so great. Rotring 600 looks great. I would just kill. It doesn't have to say 3+1. It's pretty obvious what it is. Some sort of indicators up here. I guess wouldn't really be in keeping with the 600, but it would make things more clear. You get into a nice thick grip. The standard Rotring 600 is very skinny, so this moves you to a nice wider grip, which I would say is a pretty big plus if you like the 600 design, but you can't stand the skinny grip. This is a pretty good sized pen. Here's it next to a Sharpie and a Bic crystal. So, and you would expect it to be a good sized pen given the fact that it's $50, which is a pretty expensive acquisition for the 600 line, which has classically not been very expensive since they stopped making the roller balls and fountain pens. Anyway, that's the Rotring 600 3-in-1. Pretty nice. It's really more for collectors and Rotring 600 super fans than it is for anyone else. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you really love the 600. But there are some nice things about it, and it is built nice. So I'm glad to show it off to everyone. Thanks for watching.